Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we are here today to discuss the White Look Warrior, chapters 7 through 9. It is my first time reading the Aspect Emperor series, and I'm here, as always, with Daniel and Katerina. Katerina, would you give us an introduction and tell us how Macs are better than PCs?
Oh gosh. No, let's not get into that. Um, Hi, I'm Katerina. I'm reading The White Library for the second time, and I think these three chapters got a little bit more exciting than the previous ones. What did you think, Daniel?
I'm Daniel, and I have read this series a couple times now, and I thought some parts of it were exciting. Some parts of it were there was a lot of introspection with Camian. There was thick passages.
I'm so glad you say that because there were some sections where I was like, okay, let's get on with this. Like, I don't know. We'll get to that, but
Yeah, I mean, I kind of warned you. I said there was just a lot of walking through woods and grasses, I think, when we started this book.
yeah, I mean, I guess bottom line for all these books is they're walking somewhere most of the time.
Yeah.
Someone's walking somewhere.
Some of them have horses, so they can ride.
That's true. Except for the hags, because screw them.
I guess that's one thing you don't think of in war. You just think of the battle, not the trek to get there or the trek to get back, which is the majority of the whole entire expedition. The battle is the short part of it. Getting there on foot is always the hardest part, or by boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the starvation and the diarrhea,
Eating bad meat.
Yeah.
foul water. Yeah.
The Shrank. One of my the I think I haven't laughed as much as I did, except for that the one line where they're talking about the Shrank, how they're gonna starve them out. I'm like, we're hungry, but they're hungry too, and it's like, we are the food, you fool, or I don't know. But it's just, oh, I laughed for a good few minutes about that. That was pretty good.
I like the part where uh, the strongest talking to Sorwell, and he says, "Stand in front of me as much as possible." And he realizes that he's been chosen by the god. Let me hide behind you.
Yeah, that was funny as well. I think my well, no, not maybe not my favorite part, but one of the funnier moments was I think maybe he's not a general, but he's like a leader of some like contingent in the army. He's like really keen on like getting his reputation. So he like rides in to fight the Shrang, and then he loses because his tactics are bad, and then he gets flogged, and then he again to regain his honor, he does it again, and he loses, and like thousands of people die, and he gets flogged again. Um, I thought it was sad, but also quite funny.
Yeah. General Sibwell, I think his name is. Wonder if he's going to get flogged again.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess his survival is something you can admire, but his battle results certainly not.
Lots of Shrank horde in this chapter 2 and 7.
Yeah, I mean, you get the one in front of the army, the ones behind the army, then there's another group that I think Soma meets somewhere in the middle of these Thule plains. There was a lot, yeah.
It seems like that's who the battle's against, so we're probably going to be seeing lots of strength.
Yeah. In a way, I think it's kind of gotten to the point where they're not scary anymore because we see so many of them, and they don't they pose a threat in large numbers, but they've kind of gotten not as scary as they were before, just because there's so many of them.
Well, I mean, I would maybe say they are scary because there are so many of them. like, I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with you that the mystery has sort of been lifted. Like, we know more about them now. But then when I think of the numbers, and especially the battle that Kyudas fights in the plains, just like imagining the numbers, like the thousands on thousands of strength just surrounding them and from all sides, like that's pretty scary.
And
What do
I'd
you
say
think, Daniel?
these are like not peak strength. The strength that we've seen before weren't starved and basically all dead. These are just a bunch of zombie strength. I think of them as real weak, but if the horde is big enough, then I guess it can overflow. And some people did die.
Yeah.
It seemed like Sorwell, from his vantage point, thought that they were all going to lose until he heard the beggar's lament or whatever it's called. Then
Oh yeah.
singing their tavern song, whatever we'll call it.
Yeah.
Um,
That was
it
different.
it worked. It worked. I guess that's all that counts.
And
Um,
then with Soma, you get like the strength that can talk, the Earth rank,
hmm.
and I guess the back army is different than the other rank. They're all chained to each other and being controlled by something.
Are they? That's what I didn't understand. Like, are they literally chained to each other, or is this some like magical
Like a
link?
bond.
Yeah, some.
I thought they were physically chained, but it may have been a some kind of like a something that they were being controlled some other way.
I'm not 100% sure either, but I assumed it was kind of some kind of physical chain.
Yeah, it could have been. I might have just misheard.
There
Um,
was the part when Soma was talking to the rank and says, what did he say? Your old master's going to call upon you again. You might have forgot what that's like, but
yeah,
we're
we're all children of the same fathers.
yeah.
It's
So who knows what he's talking about? Them being called upon again finally.
Hmm.
yeah,
Must be the
and
no god.
and he tells them to basically turn around and not bother Kami and Maimara and their little group.
Yeah, that I mean it was I don't know, I don't know. It was yeah. There's lots of shrank, but and we have been getting some really great comments in the on the video, so I'm sure someone will correct us if we're wrong. So I'm sure
Please
someone
do.
yeah, let us
Please
know.
do, but no spoilers for the upcoming books.
Yeah, for the newbies, Daniel knows all the spoilers, but Katerina and I are unsure. Well, I'm in uncharted territory. Katerina's almost there, so
I need to get a paper and I need to write down the things people have talked about that are too spoilery right now.
well, don't tell us about it.
No, when we get there. When we get
Oh,
there, we can talk
oh,
about it.
that'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Just so I remember them.
Yeah, give us the censored version, if anything.
I'll
So we
remember that.
that's a really good idea actually. It'd be hard to keep track of because there's a lot.
Yeah, I need a separate sticky note somewhere.
You need a separate
A bunch
notebook
of
somewhere.
It'll
There's a lot
make the
of stuff.
final discussions better. But what did you think about these chapters? Did it pick up like you expected, Steve?
It did, but I mean, I think there are some long passages where it's like Akamian defending Espinet or kind of just like you said, just introspection. So there was some highs and then there was some lulls, and there was just some kind of felt like we were meandering like let's we're kind of rehashing things again, and I think part of it is that um, these books are so dense that I think, for me anyway, I've come to expect it to be always that way. So when it pulls back a little bit, I'm like, what's going on? Like, why aren't we getting into the heavy stuff? So I tried to not let it bother me too much, but we did learn that Sorwheel was chosen to kill Callus,
Well, that's what the current theory
or
is.
cursed. Well,
But yeah.
it's first it mentions that, well, first he's told that they think he is, and then at the last page of chapter 7, I was just checking it out and see if I can find it. It's on 226. It reads, sorry, let me see if I can find it. Yatwer, the mother of wombs, who had cursed him with murdering the most deadly man to ever walk the parched earth. So I was a little bit confused on that one, if that was a for sure thing or if that was still just a theory.
I would say that all the signs seem to point that way, but I mean, you'll never know for certain, I guess, unless the goddess somehow shows up and tells him, "You're my chosen one." You'll probably never know. But she's definitely helped him a lot along the way. So I guess it's fair to conclude that he is chosen by Atwer.
We already got the White Luck Warrior who was sent to like kill the Aspect Emperor, and that was made obvious with their dialogue. And then we immediately get another Yatwer pawn, I guess I'd call Sorwil, and so you would make the assumption that he's just there to maybe kill Kellis too, right? But
And
who
not
knows? And in his point of view, he's still indecisive about what anything means. So if he says it, it might not be completely trustworthy yet.
and there is another potential assassin that Esmanet requests at the very end uh,
Oh,
of her chapter, which they also call the Nerindar or Nerindari. So, well, who is not supposed to kill Callus? She wants him to kill Maithanet, but you have at least 3 assassins running around, apparently, to make things.
that that whole section. Jeez.
But yeah, I mean, let's not jump ahead. I guess let's
Yeah,
get back to Storwheel.
yeah.
Well, we had Proyas before Sorwil, didn't we?
Yeah,
Proyas and Kellis having their little meetings.
what a bombshell! Like I mean, I Premise maybe not my favorite character, but I did feel bad for him. Like he spent these 20 years fighting for Kellis, murdering people and children and sacking cities, and then Kellis just casually tells him that, "Oh yeah, I lied about everything. Like none of it's true. You've done this for no good reason whatsoever." Like, what is Perez supposed to, like? What is he supposed to do now? What is he supposed to think?
He doesn't quite say that it's for no reason, but he admits that what Acamian said is all true, and he knows that he read his words. He hasn't said that his mission is false yet, though. Only that he's false, right? I think Proteus is growing on you, Katerina.
I certainly feel for him. it's hard being a fanatic than learning that your prophet is a false prophet,
So I have a
regardless of
question.
whether the mission is true.
So to that point, I have a question for both of you. Do you feel bad for? Do you have sympathy for anyone that Kellis has manipulated? Because he's manipulated almost everyone. So do you have sympathy for that? Like Proeas was. I think they're all being manipulated in some way. Do you have sympathy for them? Because they're almost all pawns, right?
I guess for some more than for other. Um, but that I think that's just comes down to like me having or allowing more leeway for certain characteristics that people may have. Like I may be harsher on Callus than on Sorwheel, for example. And maybe because Sorwheel is a lot younger and like a naive kid who's not really had any experience and doesn't have anyone to support him. So like Proyas is a grown man and he's kind of a bigot, which
Yeah.
I'm not generally fan of those types of people. Um, but I'm trying to be more empathetic, I guess.
Well, this world is a mess. So, you know.
I feel bad for everyone in this world. And I think that they're all born into just bad circumstances. That's why when I get get done reading this real world, though it's pretty bad, is more light. These books make the real world, as horrible as it is, much more light.
That's true. Let me rephrase it. I feel bad for anyone but Saban. How about that?
That's a good answer. That's what I thought you would say to begin with. Yeah, that's what I was figured.
Slobon's doing alright. He doesn't need anyone to feel bad for him. He's a second
Exactly.
in command.
One more reason to hate him even more.
I think of anyone, I think I have the most sympathy for Esminette, because she could be living somewhere on a farm with a Kamian by now, and you know, having a peaceful life with an old wizard. And she's the empress, but she's not really. She has really no control. I mean, there was a passage that I wanted to ask both of you about. Um, I don't want to jump ahead too far, but when we get to the Mathanet section, I have a question for both of you.
I have a question here. Why is Kellis telling Proteus any of this?
Why is he?
Kellis
I have no idea.
Kellis only does things for reasons, right? He sees everything. He's walking the shortest path. What does this have to do with the shortest path? Is he just going crazy and he needs someone to talk to?
No, no.
I like the confidence that you answer with, Steve.
Yeah, I think he's past that. I think if he was crazy, he wouldn't realize it. He may already be crazy.
I don't know. Maybe he's preparing Proyas for the inevitable. Um,
Hmm.
maybe he expects him to. I don't know. Maybe he expects him to find out sooner or later. So at least this way he can control him in some way. I don't know.
I
Um,
kind of took it as well. The only thing I could think of is that he wanted Proyas to see if he had any information, or he knew what Akami might be up to, or if he maybe knows something that he's not, or
Kellis
he
would know.
maybe, yeah,
He would know that already, just through
yeah,
his
I guess
face,
it's true. I don't know. Maybe
through
he
the
wanted to see
fire.
what Proyas would do, or where he would go, or he would lead him somewhere.
All reasonable guesses.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wants. I don't know. Maybe he's afraid he won't be able to defeat the no god, and then somehow I don't know, maybe he wants there to be someone in the army who will like stand up to Callus or have a reason to stand up to Callus. So that's what he's grooming Proyas for. I don't know. I have no idea.
Just something to think about. Proteus was his most devout believer, and he seems to be shattering all of the foundations of his belief for some reason, and acting like he just wants him to know. He just needs someone else to know because it's too big of a weight for him to bear. I think he says that it's too much weight for him to bear.
Well, he could have chosen a different moment, but I'll keep this scene in mind as we read on.
And then I guess we had all the battles with the Shrank, and I thought it was crazy they called the Shrank the Edge of Screaming Miles. That makes it sound like a bad time.
Yeah, like a carpet
Uh,
of shrink.
yeah. I enjoy the fact that they refer that they call a dozen of strang heads a lance. Like that they managed to invent a new unit of measurement how to count strength. That was quite interesting.
The things you do in war. Make
Yeah,
up fun songs, make up fun terminology.
units of
Yeah,
measurement.
then you starve and die from disease in between the fun parts.
I think one general killed his horse to help feed all his soldiers, and then they killed him for it.
Yeah,
he, he's supposed to keep his horse and stay on it.
Yeah, and then they were like, so get ready, we're going to start killing the slaves soon.
Oh, the slaughter of the camp followers. Each
mm.
must kill their own or whatever.
Yeah, and it's just overall like a lot of this march was very reminiscent of the Holy War and the march through the desert and towards Coruscant. The disease and starvation and them having to basically kill, as you said, the camp followers because there is not enough food and they're just becoming a burden, even though they were the ones who carried the food probably all the way there for their lords.
There's not as much
It,
food to carry, so
it says compassion, generosity. These are fast becoming gluttonous sins. It's a sin to be compassionate now. Then it talked about, what did it say? Only in the madness of war could men die of thirst through drinking. It talks about how there's just like a whole entire army now of people that don't have pants on that are just like just like wandering behind them. It's wild. War is wild.
marches are
Yeah,
wild.
yeah, it did. Yeah, it reminded me of the march through the desert when the one of the patrols rode ahead and they found the only oasis in the desert, and then the Kianin killed them and dropped the bodies into the water basin, and so the water got poisoned, and then all the rest of the holy war arrived and they all drank it, and then everyone got super sick and even more thirsty than they were before. um
Which is worse, this march so far or the Holy War march?
Oh, the Holy War. Well, I don't know. It's. I think the first one. I think we have a lot more detail about it. Kind of the build up, and then we have the march, and because we have a lot more detail. But this one doesn't have the same impact. Maybe because we just read the first 3 books, but
Yeah, it does feel like you don't really get to experience the hardships as much, I guess, like through the characters. And also it does seem way better organized. And I think the even though like a lot of people die, like I guess in like percentage wise, the casualties are still very small compared to the Holy War. I think like 2/3 of the Holy War died by the end of like when they walked out of the desert. So I don't think that the Great Ordeal has had that many casualties yet.
But they are still maybe on the first leg of the Great Ordeal's march, right? And that reminds me of a question I think I seen in the comments about why they needed to take Harwell's castle, why that was like an essential piece of the Great Ordeal. And I think it was just to keep the supply line intact for as long as it has been so far. Because right when they conquered the city, they built a whole other city outside of the city walls, and it became like a main like port to get stuff to the Holy War. But even though that's pretty close, it'll still eventually be out of the reach of supplying the Holy War, probably.
Yeah, it's like the last post at the very end of civilization. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I think they took the Kore Horde with them
Yeah, that
on
was
the
also
march.
that was also an important part. And if they would have left that castle and continued traveling, then Harwell and Sorrel could have just broke the supply line and just killed them all once they got too far away. That makes sense. Just a little supply line to take out. So it was strategically necessary.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think like because it's described from Sorwheel's point of view, I think it like it feels like this like big battle, but in terms of like the scale of like or the size of the Great Ordeal, I don't think it took too many men to capture Secarpus. Or I feel like Hellas did most of the job anyway.
You know, and like I said, they were like already building the city before they sacked the city. So they weren't even like really fighting a war. It was a small battle in the
Yeah,
unification wars.
Yeah.
it's
Just a
just
lot of
that just
a lot of small battles so far.
yeah. But I mean, for Sorwheel, like that's his entire world. That's basically all he knows. So it does feel like this almost like world shattering event. Um,
But the comments, I'm trying to be really careful about reading them, but not reading them because I'm afraid of spoilers. So I'm trying to be really, really careful with those. So, yeah, but some really good comments. I just I'm worried about spoilers, so I have to be really careful.
I yelled at one person. I feel bad. I know you don't like spoilers, Steve. So I try my best.
I can't imagine you yelling, Daniel. I can't imagine you even raising your voice. I don't know.
I talked loudly. I typed loudly. Okay.
typed, typed loudly.
Now, I really like talking about the books, but I have to wait before I talk about that. That's actually getting closer. What he was referring to has to do with Canyon and the Skin Eaters,
Hmm.
who are down to 11.
9? Was it 9? Or I thought it was down in
Ele-
single digits.
it was 12, and then one died from eating bad squirrel meat or bad rat meat.
yeah, and I think the captain killed one
Oh,
of them
he
because
did.
his ankle got hurt.
Yeah, his knee got cut, and it was crimson, so he just got stabbed for it. Forgot. No limpers on the slock. No weepers
Uh,
on the slob. No limpers on the slog. No
No,
thinkers
no,
on the slog.
yeah,
Yeah.
no doubters on the slog.
That's the most powerful new rule. Except for Sorrel, he's the exception.
Oh man. Good stuff.
That part with Sorrel where Mimara is trying to like coax some stuff about the captain out of him, and he's like, "It's been lonely out here." At the very end, like he finally became human again. It was sad. It was a sad part. Poor Sorrel.
Eh, oh.
Eh, I guess
No,
they're well, I feel more sorry for, but yeah, poor Sorrel.
no loneliness on the slog either.
Those chapters read a lot like fear and loathing. They made it apparent that the query is like doing something to them just by the way it's written. Kind
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's becoming obvious that the cure is not just it's not completely like Lembas. It has some side effects.
Couple.
We finally found out exactly what it was. I've been waiting to see what you guys think about the fact that they're eating the ashes of a long dead non-men king.
Well, I mean, I knew from my first read, but I remember the first time I read that, like I find out I was just I had to put it down. I was really shocked that they've been eating this dead person's ashes this whole time, and it's making them. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know much about drugs. I don't know which drug I would compare it to, but like they can, like they kind of like they become like very like apathetic, but at the same time, like it seems like their brains are working like they're like somehow brighter. And then they can see in the dark as well.
Yeah, there's
Took a turn.
no drug that's quite like that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I wonder the street value is for for that. For dead non-men ashes.
And
Yeah,
why is the cleric carrying the ashes of his kinsman in his pocket?
For the slog. Situations like this.
good question.
I
How
mean,
did he come about those ashes? Why is he the one who has like the non-men king's ashes?
I mean, I can't really imagine like carrying around my well, my grandma's not dead, but you know, carrying carrying her ashes around and snorting her and it's just weird.
I have a Jack Daniel, a little mini Jack Daniel shot somewhere with some of my friends' ashes in it. I don't think I'll ever try to snort it, but
Never know. Maybe he has special powers. Never
Maybe they
what
should try it, you know.
what movie was that? How High? Just remember that movie?
know. Yeah. Yeah, that's been a while, yeah.
There's ashes in that. Ghosts.
I haven't
I
seen that
I
movie.
I do have a friend who got his brother's ashes in his tattoo in the ink. I do know someone who did that.
That
So
seems
Yeah,
more okay than swallowing it, I
guess.
guess.
I
I don't
guess.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not judging anyone.
No,
I,
yeah.
you know,
Just interesting.
yeah,
during the first Holy War, they were eating each other. There was cannibalism going on. Which is worse, just a little bit of ashes or the meat?
well, I mean, as I think Kyotis says, cruelty is only bad if it's not justified.
There's an asterisk there.
And murder is the sum of all sins. They said that a lot.
But these books are ruining. I think I've mentioned this before, but these books are ruining other books for me
Hmm.
because it's just you go from reading Baker or Erickson, or and then you go to something else, and it just
It's cool because you can float right through other stuff, though.
that's true.
It makes other stuff much more light. Like I said, it makes the real world even seem more bright. There's a lot of hope in the real world. So
If you're looking for it,
if you forget that there's hope in the real world, just read R. Scott Baker and then think about it again.
Well, there was another funny scene in the Sorrel chapter, which had to do with Escalese, the his
The horse
teacher's
killer.
yeah, the pony killer. Yeah, but he basically goes through like 5 ponies or something, and then always like one of the boys, one of the scions has to give up their pony because he's like more important than they are, and then they have to walk on foot with the strength army like at, at their backs. Um I
Zronga is like looking at him and thinking, he's eyeing my horse. I know I'm next. I can see him eyeing my horse. And then they get attacked.
yeah.
And then
And
Serway saves Sorwheel.
yeah.
but Sorwheel saves Escalese, which I guess is kind of an important moment for Sorwheel because up until this point he's always kind of doubted himself or thought like he would not be brave enough or was not necessarily willing to sacrifice himself for his people or for the ordeal, but like in this moment he basically turns around and like goes back to save Ascalese in order to save the great ordeal, even though he knows they're all both like probably going to die because the strength are right behind. So that was a nice moment.
But it was hard for me to imagine Sorwheel carrying the horse killer on his shoulder. A little kid. I guess when you got that adrenaline, you can do crazy things, though.
That
I
yacht war
mean,
adrenaline.
he's fit. I mean, Sorwheel is fit, I assume.
So are ponies and horses. They still can't bear his weight.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, he doesn't. I guess at the end, he doesn't need to. He doesn't actually need to carry him. He just had to wake him up and slap him and make him create the bar of heaven and warn Cayutis and the rest of the great ordeal.
Let me fall.
Yeah, how many hundreds will die saving you? Sorwheel's like, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I mean, she chose to save him. That's on her.
Then we got another weird White Luck Warrior perspective section where he kills 2 people who are trying to rob him.
Oh.
I think he was actually seeing himself kill 2 people that were trying to rob him before they tried to rob him, because he hadn't even walked down the alleyway yet. He like turns towards the alleyway at the end of that section where he's gonna kill 2 people for trying to rob him.
Yeah, he does. It does on 228. It does mention he saw all the lanes he had never traveled. So I wonder what his that does that mean he sees 1,000-fold thought?
Well, I think isn't it Mappa or Sadman and a fairy who explain what the White Leg Warriors is? I think they talk about something Um, basically, like about the white like warrior seeing. I guess you could call it the shortest path, but like basically the path towards the goal that was set out for him, and him like being to able to trace the perfect path towards that goal.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't think it's necessarily the thousandfold thought.
The shortest
It,
path, I guess I should say. Yeah.
yeah, but
Kellis sees it more broadly, I think. He sees the multitudes of paths, whereas it talks about him just like staring off at those paths that he doesn't get to take, whereas Kellis has walked them all, more or less. It seems like the White Luck Warrior's path is like laid out in front of him, and he always is just walking towards where he knows he's supposed to go because there's like a person in front of him that is him that's showing him what to do.
yeah, but it does kind of seem like the white like warrior, like he just like he sees the one path, like the certain path towards the goal, whereas Callus, as you said, like he kind of has to choose from multiple, like he kind of has to find his own path, right, through the trillions, billions of possibilities. Whereas the white like warrior just he just sees the one path that will lead him to the point he needs to get to.
Yeah, the White Luck Warrior is walking his one path, whereas Kellis has to walk everyone else's path to his ends too. He's walking his own path, but he's also guiding everyone else. Whereas the White Luck Warrior is just walking in one line.
Chess
That
and
gets brought
checkers.
that gets brought up whether Essenet is like a blind spot to Kellis and is like making him walk in arcs instead of the shortest path to some foolish human emotion called love.
Yes, there was a mention of that. Let me see if I can find it on 261. That in Realitas, I can't pronounce his name. Sorry. He mentions you think Father risks the very world for the Empress's sake, for the absurdity of love. Which I didn't. That was just a. That wasn't a serious question, was it? Because Kellis isn't. Does he love Espenet, or does he? I don't know. I thought Espenet was just the vessel for his offspring.
I guess we can't know until Kellis tells us himself. Um, I don't think that Esmenet thinks he loves her. Well, I don't think anyone else thinks he loves her, but except maybe for the Jinyang. Um, but who knows? I mean,
Can
we don't
Kellis
see
love?
that. I guess that's the question. Like, I mean, I didn't really think about it up until this point. I also like just assumed that she was just a tool for him. Um, but maybe he has developed some feelings for her. I mean, there's I think one moment in the thousandfold thought where like he does kind of seem concerned for her, or even a couple of moments. But does he actually love her, or like would even if he did feel something for her, like would it be enough for him to jeopardize his plans willingly?
There was the part where he cried on the circumfix
Hmm.
and he couldn't figure out why, what the tears were.
That's true.
There was a part when the Sishwarim was talking about the gods, what they think of the gods, And he says, "We are narcotics to them. They eat our smoke. They make our jewelry, or they make jewelry of our thoughts and passions. They are beguiled by our torment, our ecstasy. So they collect us, pluck us like strings, make chords of nations, play the music of our anguish over endless ages. We have seen this, woman. We have seen this with our missing eyes." How do they see all that with their missing eyes? And does that just mean that the White Luck Warrior and Sorwill are just little plucked pawns by some twisted? At, at points they call them demons. Like, a demon's just about perspective. If it's killing you, it's a demon. If it's helping you, it's a god.
Yeah, I don't think that even before this, I don't think anyone thought that the gods were particularly nice or merciful, um or too concerned about humanity.
And there's a part where Satma Nana Fairy's talking to the slave, and she says, "She loves you despite the wickedness your captors have forced on you," and says, "She will reach for you when your flesh stumbles, but you have to reach back for her." It's kind of weird because Nanafari like knows about the gods, so you have to like believe in them before you die in order to be able to get saved.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does kind of fit into the image I have had of the gods, but the way they describe it, like it feels more concrete. Like I feel like I'm finally getting some details on what the outside might be and what role the gods play in it. But yes, like certainly these gods they're not kind.
No, no.
Yeah, they're not playful, kid-like gods from the other book I read recently that had gods in it. These gods are more definitely dark and shadowy. It's hard to exactly pick out what the truth is about these gods because everyone's got their own opinions and they all seem kind of valid. Lots of valid, contradictory opinions. I think at one point they say like paradoxical truths are what makes human human. I think Namara says that to the Skin Spy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the idea that gods are some kind of just like higher level demons is a bit disconcerting. Is like, I mean, I can't really imagine like what the gods look like, but I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the Kishrag in the Thousandfold Thought. So if they're anything like that or similar to that, I guess I understand why someone would fear them and worship them in the hopes that when they cross over to the outside, that they will be spared.
Protected from all the other gods by this one god.
Yeah, and I think Nana Fairy says it like she basically says, "Well, we worship Yatwer because she is the most powerful one, so
Mm-hmm.
she will." Like there's she will the one she is the one who can protect us against the others, I guess. But then you can say, well, maybe this is all BS, and maybe and Relatus is right when he says that um basically that what does he say? Something about like salvation being just another form of damnation, then you kind of have to forget about the whole concept of damnation to like be free of it. So maybe if you don't like, maybe if you just choose not to believe in I don't know, damnation and the outside, maybe you won't end up there. Maybe you won't have to deal with all that. Who knows?
It's a pious captain that's bounced back, though. Apparently, went all the way down there and bounced back just because of sheer belief in something, as evil as he is.
Something.
Yeah, but he went to hell first, though. It's not like he went to heaven and they sent him back. He was because he was so good, and they thought that people on Earth could use some help. Maybe he was too bad for hell.
Got rid of
Maybe.
him.
What did you think of the three Dunyings in a room part, Steve?
Well, it was neat to see. It was a fun interaction, but I kind of feel like Espinette should know better. I was a little disappointed in her decision making through that process. But I do understand too that little the little Columbus has been working on her and been poisoning her mind, so he kind of led her to that point where she would overreact like that. And but that whole process was I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't think that would happen. I still think Nathan is the victim in all this. Well, not a victim, but I still think that he's getting kind of a raw deal for all the work he put in to help Kellis. I still think he's gotten the short end of the stick on this one. But yeah, I
I
didn't expect that to go down that way.
I agree until the very last paragraph of that part where what does he say? Do you have your mother's bones?
Oh yeah,
Like completely emotionless.
he's
So
he's
he
done you.
is he is a Dunyan through and through, and maybe having feeling sorry for him isn't the right motive. Maybe Enrolitus was actually like telling all of the truths.
Or well, Nathan, it is 50%, right? He's not full. He's half. So you know,
He's he was the one good one out of six, five or six. I don't know if he
yeah,
had six drowned brothers or if he was the sixth and he had five others, something like that.
yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, he
So
yeah. Well, I think he's been loyal. He's done everything that's been asked of him, and he is still, you know, I don't know. I just think it's just a bad situation for him. I don't think he deserves he deserves better. I mean, he's not sympathetic, but from all he's done, I think it's kind of a bummer. But he does kind of like walk away after that. He's like, yeah, try and capture me, see how that goes for you. And just walks away.
Yeah, I really love that interaction. I so I guess the only complaint I had was that it was cut too short. Um, Especially because like we never learned, or we never learned much about Nathanet. Like he's always remained quite mysterious. So I really enjoy the fact that we finally got to get a little bit of background on like how he like that, he wasn't the only child that Moanga's fathered, and there was more of them, and how that he was trained, etc. And yeah, just the interaction between the three of them, and then when Inrelatus turns on Kalmomes, who had thought it was so smart when he set this all up, and then I got really excited that they were going to expose Kalmomes, which obviously did not happen. And I certainly did not expect Mathanet to kill Inrelatus. And I felt very sad. I mean, not that Inrelatus so far has been like introduced as a very nice person, but he is like, to me, he was like super fascinating character, and um the things he represented, I were like more on the philosophical side of the books, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. even though I guess you could probably argue that his like what he represents is kind of a dead end.
Hmm.
So in some way, I guess I understand why he was removed very quickly after he was introduced. But I still would have enjoyed a few more interactions between him and Mathanet, or maybe some of the other Dunyan.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
It seems like a lot of the Dunyan interactions are really short. Is that a creative choice? Is that something that, or are they just too? Are they too intelligent, or can they just their interactions wouldn't be very long because then somebody would find a weakness or find an opportunity?
I
I'm
think
trying to think of the like what other Dunyan interactions have we witnessed so far. Um, but I mean, I guess like it makes sense if you're a Dunyan, you just like you cut to the point. Like you don't you can get rid of all the fluff that we usually put into conversations.
what does Kalmamas calls it the game in its purest form. So they remove all the other bits of the game that are just for humans, and now it's just Dunyanes playing a game of desire, which Kellis, I think, has won in Mathanet's eyes. Like, Dunyan will bow to a superior will, and Kellis had made Mathanet bow.
Hmm.
Just
But because he was more powerful, or because he was able to convince Mathanet that he was right.
kind of both. That's how you become more powerful in the Dunyan's eyes, right? Is to convince, to condition the ground beneath someone.
Hmm.
So since Kellis's intellect sees further, Nathanek couldn't do anything but accept that, kind of. But now he's cast away somewhere. Who knows where he's gonna go? But he's he's gone.
We did have the Moingus and Kellis interaction that was really short, which was a bummer. That's kind of what I thought back to as really short interaction.
It's I
Well,
think
shortish.
I think part of that is to keep it all mysterious, and another part of that is if you were to just try to write a whole book from Kellis's vantage, it would be nearly impossible. And I think R. Scott Baker's really smart, but when you're trying to write someone that's smarter than you, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So keep it short and keep it as mysterious as you can, kind of. I feel like he would write like 100 pages just to get one like set of Dunyan passages, just to see
Hmm.
which ones sounded the smartest.
That's true.
That was a pretty cool quote from Esmenet. I think it was Esmenet. She said, "To know was to have power over the world. To believe was to have power over men." I guess it's some kind of a Dunyan motto that Kellis tries to teach her. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly where the context of the quote is, but I thought it was quite poignant.
Hmm.
I was also sad that Kelmomus doesn't get found out. He gets exposed, but only between a couple people who are now gone and dead. Gone or dead.
But I mean, Magnus is still alive, so maybe there will be still chance for him to somehow expose Kilmomus before he
It's,
kills everybody in the palace.
it was fun to watch Kelmomus squirm a little bit, though. Have
Yeah.
feelings he's never felt before.
He kind of enjoyed it. He was like, "Oh, what is this strange feeling? It feels good."
The part where he says that he's having a harder and harder time finding ways to make Asenet cry. That was horrible. That's a terrible thing for your littlest kid to be doing.
You will fail.
Why do you think that Inverlatus decided to kill or attempted to kill Mathanet? I mean, like seemingly he's someone who just who does things out of just because, just to behave, just to do things against the rules. But like, do you think there was any like? Do you think he had like there was another reason or like a greater reason for why he turned against Mathanet?
Because Columbus was manipulating him too, or maybe he just felt an opportunity to maybe replace Mathanet if he was gone.
I'm not sure. It seemed like Kelmomus seemed that as he was talking to Mathanet that he like was just saying the words. You didn't believe it. He was trying to like lull Mathanet into something. So maybe him even ratting out Kelmomus was part of the lull still.
Yeah, there's stuff I don't remember. I didn't write down who said it, but someone, I think it's one of, I guess it's either Kelmomus or Enrelatus. One of them says that there is nothing more godly than murder.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wonder if, yeah, I guess like Enrelatus attempting to kill Mathanet, if that's like, if that was just like an expression of his god godlyhood. No, that's not a word.
Godliness, maybe.
Godliness, I guess.
There is a part, not this conversation, but before, where Enrolatus, like, I think he warns Kelmomus to get away because his, like, emotion is taking over. I think his emotions are really raw, so once they take over, his rational brain can't control them. So maybe that's why Mathanet died. Just an expression of emotion.
Hmm. Well, I guess we'll never know.
Maybe he's kind of broken into non-men, like the non-men in that way.
Yeah, but he has his mother's bones.
Yeah.
We don't find out if Kelmomus does, though.
Yeah.
Not
But I
yet.
mean, is it so does it suggest that not only are the Dunin like intellectually superior, but like are there also like, well, I guess, are there also like physically like enhanced? Like I understand they're like they train, right? Like they have these like wuxia martial art skills. Like I get that, but are their bones actually thicker? Like do they also breed for that?
A long time ago, it said they're bred on the reflexes of limb and mind. So they need to be exceptionally gifted both ways.
Exceptionally exceptionally exceptional. Jeez.
For 2,000 years. So maybe after so many thousand years, you would just be a little bit different.
That was a surprise. That death. I
Yeah,
thought
I
he would
mean,
be one of the last ones to survive. I thought he'd be around for a while.
yeah, I mean, Esmenet certainly did not expect that. And as much as terrifying Enreladas was as a child, like I still felt it when she entered the room and saw him and just sort of
Hmm.
broke down. Um, I felt really bad for her.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder why Kellis let Enrolatus live, right? But that becomes like a crux of the question why Nathanette kind of thinks maybe he's crazy. So he let this little sin live, and it might mean that he's doing what Essinet wants, because he can't think of a reason to let for Enrolatus to have lived. And now he's dead. So was his reason just to have all of this happen? Did Kellis know this was going to happen? How much does
I don't,
Kellis know?
well, I guess that's the question. I'm not. I don't think he knows about Kelmomas, and since a lot of this happened because of Kelmomas, I I'm inclined to say that this was not planned by Kellis, but I might also be completely wrong.
Even Sammy's death and Sherrison's death? All of these people Cal has killed are blind spots to Kellis, then could they veer him off the thousandfold thought, walking the shortest path?
Maybe. I mean, maybe it's enough that Kalmomas is the well, yeah, I guess Kalmomas is the blind spot. Like Mathan did not. Mathan also wasn't aware that Kalmomas had his hands in Sammy's death. I think.
No, not until Enrolatus told him.
But then it's interesting that Enrilatus notices immediately.
Hmm.
So what makes him like? Is there something that makes Enrilatus different? Like, does he think differently than Kellis and Maithanet, or is it just that like up until that point, no one was paying attention to a little kid that everyone assumed was completely harmless?
Maybe Callus can't see the paths with his kids, or they can change the path. I don't know.
I don't know.
And Enrolatus tells Kel that he's crazy just like him, right? Maybe he should be the one that's locked up instead.
He should be.
Yeah, he should be locked up.
And, and oh, forgot what I was going to say. Um, Kelmomis is wondering if they realize that he's had the gifts since birth too. Like he doesn't need to be trained, and Enrolatus didn't need to be trained either. So he wonders if he knows that he's like his brother in that way. And since Enrolatus got like the gifts so strongly that it kind of broke him, he can see through people's faces better than anyone except Kellis, it says, right? So he can see deeper into the little twisted Kelmomis than Nathanet can. That's why he wanted to look down his throat. He wanted to look in his mom's throat too. He just wants to see where the words come out.
Is that why I got really confused by that part? I didn't understand why he wanted to look down people's throat. It seemed very particular.
Mm-hmm.
He's God. He knows Who knows what gods are thinking?
Well,
Or
I'm curious if I'll run into enroladas in the outside.
Run.
did in,
Maybe he was past damnation. You know.
I wonder if he knew he was going to die there.
Was it on purpose?
I don't know. Kellis seems to do everything on purpose. Kamomas seems to do lots of things on some weird feeling that he or his voice gets.
So maybe we haven't seen the last of Enrolatus then.
He's going to be the third voice in Kamomas' twisted little head.
His
Hmm.
lad. Yeah,
Well,
something is wrong.
we know that people can apparently come back. So yeah, right. I guess you can never say never. We might see him again.
The captain's the only one that's bounced back that we know of, though, right? I guess we did see the non-men ghosts, the non-men apparition.
The king.
Yeah. Well, Kellis has also been to the outside, right? That's where he got the Sifrang heads from, didn't he?
It talks about him having found a way to travel to the outside, but it hasn't said much more.
Hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I'm curious about that. Yeah. I did find it quite bizarre that he just travels to the outside just like that.
So that apparition was the non-men king, and that person in the pouch that cleric has is who?
Hmm.
Uh, well, the one and the cremated one is the Kujara Sinmoy. It's the K's and the C's again.
And the
Um,
pouch is Sil. The can't remember what his last name was. Sil Ajaris or something like that.
I
That's what
think.
Mamara says, anyways. Because
Well, yeah,
cleric says, "Take this powder and you'll see who it is." It doesn't show her seeing, but she tells Camion the next day, kind of.
yeah. I think. What? I don't think they're necessarily the same king. Like, I did start reading the history of Urwa.
Hmm.
Um, there certainly have been a couple of non-men kings. I don't think they're necessarily the same person. I don't know if we get the information in the appendices or not.
There was something in the appendices of the last series that
Hmm.
about the outside that still hasn't got brought up yet, but I want to talk about it. Something about like why the consult is trying to war with humans. What that has to do with closing the outside like they want to do, like blocking themselves from judgment.
Hmm.
Hmm. Do I know this or
It's in
not?
it. It's in the appendix of the
Okay.
first
Well, then I
series
guess it's fair game.
Yeah, go for it.
that in order to close the world from the outside, they have to hit like a certain number of humans.
Right.
I feel like it was 144 million, maybe something like
I think it's less. I think it's in thousands.
144,000
I think so. Yeah.
in order to close the world from the outside. So that's the consul's goal, is to somehow like purge most of the humans from the planet. Kellis is taking a whole bunch of humans up right now to fight a crazy war. Is he trying to purge humans from the planet?
Hmm.
Or is he trying to purge the strength so they can fight the No God without having millions and millions of strength to fight?
Are you so what are you saying that Callus is making the consul job easier by bringing all the men to them?
I don't know. They do need to purge a lot of the humans in order to shut off Irwa from the outside.
Hmm.
Hmm. I need to reread that appendix.
There's a lot in there. A lot of world building stuff. Kind of like in the history of Irwa. A lot of world building stuff that kind of doesn't matter but puts everything into perspective. Like the non-men battles from a long time ago and
Hmm.
the human and non-men battles afterwards.
Yeah, it can be a lot overwhelming, but I guess it's nice like when you encounter something as you read, like it's nice to go back and kind of refer to the appendices. I'm sure like it probably mentions the name of the king of Killages as well. I just can't remember which one it is, and I'm afraid of spoiling something else. So I'd rather not say.
Yeah, I don't know how Daniel does it because I think I would have accidentally spoiled everyone like 1,000 times by now. So I'm
Yeah,
impressed
it's
with
not.
his non
Yeah,
spoilers.
I
yeah.
try to throw as many diversions as I can. I ask you questions that maybe I would have asked before I knew the answer to.
I don't know.
No, I mean, there's two of them. There's like two non-men kings, and both of their names start with an N, I think, and I can't remember which one is which. Um, but one of them I think is the king of, or was the king of Killages, and who was also the wraith that we encountered in the mines. And
Sijara Sinmoy is one of them,
Hmm.
the greatest of the Signori rulers.
right, well, yeah, right. He's the one whose ashes they're snorting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he's not the king of the mention of the Kill Arches mention. I think.
The non man sections though were pretty hilarious. Just as he just seems like he's unhinged and hairless and just like yeah, just a really bad trip. A really bad party gone wrong. A slog gone wrong.
Yeah, it does feel like everything is getting weirder and everyone's getting crazier. Um, and I have to say it does come out a lot crazier on audio, like when you
Hmm.
actually like hear him like screaming or like shouting into the air. But yeah, you get a sense that he's like someone who's lived through so much, and I guess at one point was this like um remarkable person, but it's just like it's gone. It's not there anymore. It's just glimpses of what he used to be.
No wonder they go mad. What was the line with all the memories and no wonder they go crazy.
Makes me feel bad for Mamara. He thinks he remembers her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a few mentions of Murmara. Yeah, there's something else going on there because she's in one of the dreams, right? Or they at least mention her name in one of the dreams in one of the Kamian's dreams last book. They talk about it.
Yeah,
It-
I think.
And it also keeps referencing how Essenet is an old name, right? It said that like 3 or 4 times. Essenet's a unique name for a whore. It's an old
Yeah.
name. What that means, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But we know that Kelmomus, there was a Selmomus, right, with the C. So even names, just like history, repeats itself. Just like every word is uttered from another word you heard from somebody else. Repetition, no
So
originality.
I should watch out for another Esmenet, is what you're saying.
Hmm. Or a similar name.
But yeah, the last chapter is mostly conversations between Mimera and Akamian, which I actually enjoyed. Like, I did enjoy getting more of Akamian's perspective on, and like seeing that he's been able to reflect on his relationship with Esmenet and how maybe he wasn't like the greatest boyfriend. But also like when he mentioned, like when he says that there was like he forgave her at some point, there was this moment where he just decided to forgive her. I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
says, even though I'm not done like lashing out at her, I've already forgiven her. I'm still gonna throw a fit, but I've already forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of get it. Like, I get that emotion that you want to be angry at someone, but you also kind of deep down, you know, it's not. You realize that it's not their fault, or even if it was, like you still forgive them.
Esna has an Akamian moment. If if Query were Kellis, she says no finally after all that time. She doesn't say no, and the other voice in her head doesn't say no, but the third thing inside her says no.
Hmm.
It wasn't as impactful as when Akamian like threw away everything and walked out, but it,
Well, it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
yeah, he's over her while she sleeps.
Yeah.
Like, what? Why does he? Like, why does the cleric care if they take the Kiri or not? I understand they are addicted, but I mean, he if she doesn't want it, why does he force her to take it anyway?
There's a part where Akamian says, without it, there's no way that an old man and a woman could keep the pace that
Yeah. They
these
wouldn't be
guys
able to
are
keep up.
keeping.
Mhm.
So,
So
and
you think he's just concerned for them?
Performance enhancing.
maybe,
Maybe.
maybe just like all drugs, there's some kind of a come down that's
Hmm.
equal to the come up.
Perhaps.
Maybe that's also why Soma says that he's killing them.
Yeah.
Not
The
that
non-man is killing
he's
them.
gonna kill them. He is actively killing them. But who
So
knows?
you,
Who knows what this query is?
so Katerina, you enjoyed the conversational the conversation that they have, the kind of reminiscing in old times kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like I did enjoy the more the reflecting that a Kamian does, um, and also the when he talks about how how he and Esmond had met and
Hmm.
how
How he fell in love
he
with her.
how he fell in love with her, and how she went out looking for Mimera in the docks, and like basically almost died, and how he went out just basically try to find her and save her. Um, like we didn't get that in the Prince of Nothing. Like this is all new information. So I did enjoy learning about that. But I do agree with you. It is kind of slow. Like I do think this book is a little bit too long. Um, but yeah, those parts I did enjoy.
Hmm.
I thought they were pretty good too. We've had a lot of character building with Camion, but this was like reflection from a book we read, not where before he would reflect on like teaching Proteus, which we never got to read the story of this. He's reflecting on like the previous three books we've read and his experiences in those, kind of as if it were 20 years ago.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
like sorry,
No, no, go ahead.
just the way he talks about like blame and um
Chains.
sh-
Mm.
chains, and yeah, like how like it's really difficult to tell if a person actually has a choice in the things they do and decisions they make, like when they talk about um if Esmenet had a choice in becoming a prostitute, or maybe even a choice in giving Mimera away, if that's comparable to Mimara lived like spending most of her life in a brothel. If in theory she could have maybe just walked away, but in reality that would have been a really difficult thing to do. So I enjoyed the things they talked about, um, and kind
Yeah,
of the perspective that a commune has. I don't know if the Kiri helped with
Maybe.
those types of conversation. Um,
it seems to be getting rid of the emotion. They can
Mm.
watch like heads get pulverized. They can like before some of the stuff that Camion says to Mamara would have like made her flip out, but now it just like washes over her, just like it does to Camion. They don't seem to care about slights very much anymore. And there was a part where he says, where the Camion says, "You weren't chained to your pillow, were you?"
There's chains and then there's chains.
and then there's House of Chains.
There's house. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, so I did enjoy the conversation, and I guess there is not really like an easy answer to what they were talking about. And like you get the sense that, Esmenet did or does regret leaving Maimara behind.
Mm.
But you also kind of understand why she did it. Like, should she have done that? Like, I don't think there's an easy answer um, to that question. But I also understand that it's really hard to forgive something like that. Um, so I understand why Mara is angry and why she's hurt. Um, and I have no idea how to fix that relationship.
It can't.
Just stay away from each other.
Yeah.
And then we had the Padrija and Satma Nanafari teaming up.
Oh yeah, right.
I forgot.
Um,
I forgot the quote that it keeps saying something about Earth being soft for the plow.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
soft earth, deeply plowed. Yeah,
There we go.
it's like very Bay Korean description.
This is true.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like, is it safe to assume that maybe like Phenyl has become another pawn in Yatwar's game.
And it
It's
seems like Yatwar doesn't care about the goodness or badness of people. Satma kind of refers to them as pawns, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
or
or
pawns.
if they're believers or not. But yeah, it does seem like Finale's rebellion has been kind of hijacked by the goddess.
And it seems like the last Ishwaram, his time is numbered. I think Patsuma even like thought about him as a dead person already.
Hmm.
Yeah, they might come head to head, but we'll have to see.
Oh, and there's a story that Kellis told us Net that she thinks is like to warn her against the Dunyan blood about the wolves that were like trying to catch an antelope, and then the antelope saw him and snuck away, and there was two wolves hiding in the bushes and ripped out the throat.
Yeah. Story time
So
isn't too cozy, is it?
be be careful of the games the Dunyan play. They know where they want you to go, and it is a trap.
Yeah, and I think he also tells her there's like another there is another story about it is it I think it's a wager between a god and a hero, which he kind of uses to explain to her the difference between the Danyane and men or humans. And I think the Danyane are supposed to be the god, and the like and humans are kind of represented by the man. And the difference is basically that if you're a man or if you're human, then you're willing, like you would be willing to sacrifice yourself. Whereas I guess the Dunye would not be able to do that. That's kind of how I understood it, but I don't.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I don't know if self-preservation is like the highest it's like the ultimate purpose of the Dunyin. Um
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
So if Enrolatus knew he was going to die and gave himself up, then like was he done Yang? Or was he wanting to persevere through that too?
It was for a purpose.
I don't think he wanted to die. Although
If I was chained up, I'd after like 12 years, I'd be looking for a way out. I don't got no Dunyan blood, but pull my
I mean,
arms and legs to a wall and give me like an inch of slack. I'm over it.
what what was it? What was it? The murder was like the most godly act or something? Like
Mm.
does suicide count as well? Like is that also against the rules? Is that why? I don't know. Like would he actually I don't I didn't get the vibe. Like I didn't get the sense that he wanted to die.
He
But
did. He did have the blade. He could have just did it himself, but instead he filed it down to where he could rip off his shackles and catch Nathan it, even though he was just too frail and weak.
Yeah, like a um, like a calf that's chained up, like veal.
It did describe him like always like wrenching against the chain, so his forearms were really tough and his legs were really tough just from testing his boundaries. But
Mm.
yeah. Well, he could have also cut Kelmomus's throat, but that probably wouldn't have been as much fun. Yeah. Killing a kid, killing the Schreier.
Or maybe he wanted to die.
But Dunedin are all about self-perseverance, so maybe he didn't want to die.
Maybe he will persevere if he does die somehow. I don't know.
Maybe he wanted to see if the outside was real.
Yeah, he wanted to try it out. I don't know.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
we're just making fun of him now.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think
bit
just laughing.
disrespectful.
R.I.P. Enrulatus. Yeah, poor guy.
Poor
Anything
little
else?
kid.
Yeah. Anyone else you guys want to make fun of?
Oh,
Well,
Akamian's
the
new dreams. I want to talk about Akamian's weird new dream that he's been
yeah.
having,
Hmm?
and what they described as the golden room. The chain goes forward, so they take one. I think they said 2 steps forward, and then the golden room devours a soul.
Okay.
What's going on there? What is this golden room?
Hmm.
Well, we know at least one place that's made of gold. So I would maybe make the conjecture that this is all taking place in the Ark.
Ooh,
And that this room is something like the gate that
the doorway, or where the slaves were. Their purpose was just to man the chains.
yeah, to open the seal so what's his name could hide the prophecy in there, or the resting place of Ishmael. Why can't I think of his name right now?
I can't think of it.
Seswatha?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when Seswatha goes to the gate to unseal it, and there's a whole bunch of souls bound to a door that somehow make the gate open.
From the Judging Eye, right? Yeah.
I forgot about that part. No idea.
There's a there's a lot. There's a lot to remember for sure.
It's just like a machination that somehow requires souls being bound to it.
Okay.
Maybe,
I just assume it had something to do with the Inquiry. Since it seemed like they were like deep down in the belly of the Ark, but now you're saying they might not be. So I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know either. I just think it's weird that there's some room that's devouring souls,
That is indeed strange.
That is strange. Yeah.
and that
Um,
Acadian's dreams have now moved beyond Seswatha somehow to something older.
Yeah, I mean that I guess that is an interesting question. If like I get that he's not these are not Seswatha's memories anymore, but is he dreaming someone else's life or is he dreaming like some version of his own life
Hmm.
If
in
that's where Acadian dies, it's just in a tunnel at the Ark, pulling a chain towards the Golden Room.
yeah, but yeah, basically.
His first vision of the future.
Maybe he's finally become the prophet, not of just the past, but also the future.
The future. It's like some Lovecraftian stuff going on.
There's
There's
def,
definitely
def
Lovecraftian stuff going on.
there's definitely been
Yeah.
some Lovecraftian stuff going on. Metaphysics has to go somewhere, and it's always strange to the human experience.
Yeah.
Anything else? That was one of the last things I could think of.
No, that's all the notes I have. What about you, Katerina?
I have a couple, but well, okay, there is this moment when Sarl he's talking to Mimera and he basically tells her that he calls her the Princess Imperial, or he talks about Esmenet being her mother, which is strange considering she never told any one of the skin eaters that she is who she is. So I wondered if that was some kind of, I don't know, hallucination that Sarl was having, or if
Hmm.
somehow its insanity made him more aware
Oh,
um than anyone else's, or if there's something else going on.
Because we decided that Akamian and her were both not part of the Skin Eater's plan, right?
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's kind of what we agreed that.
So then it is maybe kind of weird that he knows that she is, but there was also, I think, a reference to like the Kellic, the coin that's got her, that has her mother's face on it that looks so much like her. I think that they made like reference to that at one point. So
Yeah.
maybe
What
that could be how they know. Every coin's got a picture of her on it almost.
and I mean, if well, I guess like we know she's resembles Esmenet a lot. So if
Hmm.
there is someone who has seen or met Esmenet before, then they could probably piece two and two together if they like saw her face.
Hmm.
Um, but that was a bit suspicious.
Yeah, that's suspicious. I
Um,
didn't catch that.
yeah. Then I had I think I already talked about the fact that the Kiri has like basically made them see in the dark, which is also a bit bizarre. But I guess maybe it will like kind of has to do with I guess non-men, like is it like do non-men see better
Yeah.
in the dark? Like maybe so I guess since they've been eating Kuja Kinmoy this whole time, I guess it makes sense that they would develop that ability.
I wonder what they see when they look at a painting. If it's just a big blur like it is to non-men.
Hmm.
How,
Yeah,
how
that
much
would be
does
interesting.
how much does this drug affect them?
And what's the
What
come
is
down?
maybe there is none.
I doubt that.
And there's one moment where like again like Maimara and Akami are having conversation, and she asks him what he would do if he found out that Kellis was actually right. And he does not have an answer, I think. Like he never answers that question. Um but it's still a possibility. Like we still don't know. Like the more like as I said, the more I read, like like it's just like the more I read, like the more I question everything. Like
Yeah.
now I'm just suspicious of even the things I thought I previously knew. I'm like, well, maybe maybe that's not the truth. Maybe that's just what they want me to think.
I
Yeah.
try to help with that.
Yeah, you're
I try
definitely
to help you
helping.
guys be more confused at the end
Yeah.
of the
Oh
day.
yeah. Yeah.
But there is a reason, like Kellis could have just stayed and been the king.
Hmm.
He is going out of his way to do something. He does everything with a purpose. It appears like they're trying to kill the Shrink, which is like Satan's little pawns. So it it seems like he's fighting the good fight from the outside perspective, but
Hmm.
maybe he just only needs there to be 14,400 people, and he found a way to kill them all at once. Just never know. I don't know what Kellis's motives are yet.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's still a lot of people who stayed behind. So, how big is the Great Ordeal again? Like 400,000, like half a million, something like that, right?
Seems
Two
like
hundred quarter of a million, right?
most of the able-bodied men in the three Seas. It talks about like the sorcerers that are left with Essenet as being just like the old crippled ones that couldn't march.
Yeah. But I mean, you still have all the women, which are like probably half of the population, who stayed in the three seas.
And the Padrija might help eliminate some of them.
So is this like this big conspiracy where at the end we find out that all the gods and Kellis and the council, they all been like in on it together, and they're all basically just making plans to annihilate humans? I don't know. Doesn't
Could-
seem likely, but
Maybe,
With this book, you never know.
maybe the gods need souls for fuel, just like the Golden Rune does.
Need souls. So we're on chapter 10. That's for my book. It's 316. But the end of chapter 12 is 443. That's over 130 pages, 20 something pages. That's if you guys want to do 2 chapters, we could do 10 and 11. That would be about 80 pages. It's up to you guys.
I mean, I'm in. I guess I don't care, but it would be nice if we can finish this book in 2 weeks, because then I will be gone for the next 2, I think. Or we can do like an episode in between, maybe.
It doesn't matter. It's up to you guys. Let's see.
I say we make next Friday more rough, and then the last Friday less rough. So we need
Okay.
more chapters this Friday. So there's less chapters for the last bit.
So you want to do 10, 11, and 12? Well, or do you want to do 10, 11, and 12 and 13? That's 170 pages, give or take.
No, let's just get through 12.
Okay. So 10 through 12?
And then that would give us seven.
I can manage.
Okay, all right. Just don't want to make it
It's
stressful
up.
on anyone.
It's up to you. It's up to you guys.
My
You're
my
the
reading
one that
schedule.
was stressing, Steve.
Well, my reading.
I
I'm
heard.
good. I'm good now. This week was just kind of nuts, but I'm good after this. I'm good after this, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'll make sure to start earlier so I can finish on time.
Okay. Cool. I'm looking forward to it. Good stuff. So, Katerina, if someone wants to get in touch with you and tell you how wrong you are about not Sorcellis, about Saban, where can they contact you?
I don't reply to messages anymore. I'm you can find me, though it might be difficult. You can find me on the page doing forum, and I'm still on Instagram at the errand.
Nice. Daniel, where can people not find you?
Go sign up for ChatGPT and just ask it. It'll answer as good as I could by not answering.
I don't know.
We're on page 2.
Yeah, that's the best place for me too. So, well, it's always fun. We're gonna have a big week next week. It'll be good times. So, cool, everyone. Well, thanks everyone for coming along the journey with us and correcting us when we screw up. Appreciate it. We'll see everyone next week.
Maybe.